Okay, here we are.
All right.
All right, so I am here with Meredith C. Bullock. She is a visual artist and storyteller, and we are going to be talking a little bit about how fear impacts the things that we want to do in life. And I was looking through her beautiful Instagram feed, which she is not currently on all that much right now, but it's still really great. You should go check it out. Um, and she had a quote on there that said, "Fears are affirmations of what you want most in your life." And that was from her friend Marilee Patel. Do you want to tell us just a little bit about why that quote spoke to you, Meredith?
Sure. Yeah. So a few years ago, I was kind of in a deep dive of painting, and I was also grieving, and so I was really aware of the the emotional um, things I was going through at that time, and I kept having these fears of not being able to paint and not being able to do the things I want to do because now I'm a mom, and I'm also in pain from losing my mom, and all those kind of things. And I realized that well, what happened is I wrote a letter to fear. It was something that I just decided to do after I read Big Magic and by Elizabeth Gilbert. And I wrote a letter to fear, and immediately after I wrote that letter to fear, I understood what I thought was I was going to write this letter and I was going to like cuss out fear, like be really ticked off at it. And actually the opposite happened. I wrote a letter to fear, and I was actually really compassionate with fear and realized that fear was here to help me, that fear was the most present when I wanted something and when I really, needed the courage to push through. And so I just realized that when I can be in a relationship with fear, rather than if, like our natural reaction with fear is to run away or to protect ourselves or to not really penetrate the fear, to just, be guarded from it. But instead, when fear arises, we actually take a close look at it, investigate it. Why is it here? What is it telling me about what I want? And how can I overcome this fear? How can I move through it rather than around it? Rather than avoiding it? How can I move through this fear? How can I achieve the things that I want to, even though I'm scared out of my mind?
So,
So,
how do you look at it and say, why is it here? Is it just that exercise you were talking about? Do you use that consistently, or do you have a different way to do it?
no, I don't use that exercise consistently. I would say that I think as a prerequisite to write a letter to fear, like I think that is a great exercise for anyone to do. And you might find that you are angry with fear or whatever it is. Writing that letter, I think, is a really healthy exercise to do. And then beyond that, when I have fears, and really when I have a multitude of any emotion I have, I try to investigate it. I'm not always good at that. But when I have a fear, I ask it why it's here. Like, why am I so scared of this? Like, why am I'll just give you a true current example. Why am I so scared to have a third child? Okay. Why am I so scared of that? Well, because I don't want to relive all of those, sleepless nights, because they're awful, like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be a zombie again. Because like, it felt like I was in survival mode for so long. And so investigating why that fear is here and understanding it, I think really equips us. It kind of calls within a courage, like this brave, like, okay, now I know that I am scared to have a third child because of the sleepless nights. Okay, so I can either let it go and not have that third child, or I can decide, what? Maybe it's worth it. Maybe it's worth those sleepless nights. And who knows? maybe I won't have all of those sleepless nights like the other two kids that I had. Like, so really understanding why it's here and giving yourself the choice to either let it go or to equip yourself with what you need in order to move through it. And it's okay to let it go. Like, sometimes a fear comes to us and it doesn't matter, and you just let it go and you move on. But sometimes, like, deciding to be an artist or deciding to quit your job because you have this side job that you've been working on so much and you finally have replaced your income, and it's time to quit your job, but you're afraid to quit your job because that's a stable income, but it's the right thing. You investigate that fear. Okay, why am I afraid of quitting my job? Well, I'm afraid of the instability. Okay, well, what can I do to give myself stability? Well, I could really build out a solid routine that I follow each day. And I could do X, Y, and Z in order to make sure that I always have at least $200 coming in every month, or whatever it is. You investigate why that fear is here, and then you begin to understand the reasons why, and kind of come up with a plan. And for me, it allows me to understand, move through it, and keep moving on.
So I like to break things down into step by step, which you did, but I'm going to spell it out super clear.
I think that's good.
First, you ask why the fear is here, and then you figure out where it came from, and then you ask how you can break through it. You make a plan, like you were saying.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So that is super helpful. I think that that's something that anybody can follow, really, as long as you're willing to look at yourself and listen and not be too scared to hear what it has to say, which I know can also be a problem. But that is another fear that you can work through. So use the steps.
Yeah, and I think as artists, I think a lot of people face fears every day, but being an artist is not a highly acceptable thing to do. Everybody thinks you're going to starve and you're not going to make enough money, and the truth is it's not as highly needed as toothpaste or a haircut. I used to be a hairstylist. You could basically be a hairstylist in a salon and you're going to be good to go, pretty much no matter what, because everybody will always need a haircut. But art is something that people don't need. We can all agree as an artist, we know it's something people need, but people don't need it to survive. So it becomes one of those, vocations that we really have to be strong within in order to face all of the naysayers, and in order to push through all of the people that are going to tell us we can't do it, including ourselves, because there's going to be a lot of pushback. Like, if you decide to be a doctor, probably not a lot of people are going to push you back, because everybody thinks that's the greatest thing that you could ever do, whatever. But being an artist is just one of those things that, or a musician, or like a poet, or, like those artistic things that everybody, I think our parents' generation probably doesn't, view that as a smart decision. And we have to understand why it is a smart decision and how we are going to move through those decisions of fears and feeling like, we can't do it, and we're going to prove to ourselves that we can.
Well, I wanted to read a quote from you again. This talks about what you were just saying. The decision to be an artist is not an easy one. You will be told you can't, that it's too risky, it's too lofty, it's unrealistic. And the truth is, it is risky. But when you face your fears and follow your heart, the risks are worth every minute of it, which I think is very powerful and very true, and touches my heart a little bit. So Meredith, you're wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on with me for this little quickie interview. Tell us where we can find more about you and what you're working on, so if people want to go splurge on you, they
can. Sure. Well, I will say that right now is not really a time to be splurging on me, because I am in I guess you can kind of call it almost a cocoon phase, where I am finishing a book that I started a book a few years ago, and it lended itself to another book. And so I've been working on 2 different books for the past few years. And in order to be present as a mother and to write these books, I really haven't been posting very much online. I haven't sent a newsletter out in several months. I haven't really been super in touch with the outside world. But as we all know, like when we're in a painting, you know, when we are posting online and in a painting, it kind of takes us away from the process of painting. And so right now I'm in the process of finishing this book. And so once I am done with this book, I will be more present in the outer world. And so I would love to direct people to my newsletter, because when I do shift into the phase of sharing my book and what that has to offer to the world, I would love to share that with you guys. And so that would be at my website, which is meredithcbullock.com. And I'm sure that Jessica will provide the actual link. And you'll see a place where you can enter your email. And I'll be honest, you might not hear from me for a month or 2, but I promise you will hear from me, and it'll be directly linked to everything that we talked about today. And yeah, I can't wait to share that with you.
She's cocooning right now, but she's got a butterfly.
Yeah.
So you want to sign up for that.
Yes.
And also, I know, like I said earlier, you're not on your Instagram account too much right now, but it is very full, and it has a long backlog that you can go back and read a whole bunch of posts that she has on there. It's at meredithcbullock.com, or not?
Yes.
At Meredith C. Bullock, Bullock, right?
Yeah, like Sandra Bullock. Yep.
Okay.
Yes, my Instagram is very full of a lot of butterfly phases, and then you can't tell when I go into the cocoon phase because I'm just like, you know, not even there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can see a lot there, and I think that would definitely be helpful for, you know, anyone to go see. I share a lot of tips and tools. It's just a natural thing that I like to do, share what I know with others. So there's a lot there, and yeah.
And all my points that I got for this interview all came from there. So.
All right.
All right. Well, Meredith, thank you so much again. I really appreciate it. And I will post all those links below the video so you can go check them out.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Jessica.
Of course. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.